I want to discuss something interesting, and it's about how you build, a sustainable growth engine if you're operating, this typical business that serves other business. So it's called B2B, right? Your typical clientele are other businesses. So there has to be some sort of, standardization, formality. The tone is quite different if you are in the B2C arena. It reminds me of one of the businesses I worked with in the past, right? It typically services other business, and it's in the business of developing project management tools like Notion, Asana, Trello, even Google Suite, right? It can also be a project management tool. It helps you to aggregate, and then plan out your tasks accordingly, and then also report. One of the first questions I asked is, what we're doing, why would our customers share this? Because in B2B, it's about solving your other business's problem, right? So other businesses come to you so you can solve the problem, you can streamline your workflow, and it makes it easier for them to achieve their goals or their aims of being in business. What did they do? One of the features of that product is that that lets users auto-generate client reports to showcase team's efficiency. And while they do this, right, this report had a tiny watermark, right, powered by that tool name. This worked a great deal, right? Because users weren't sharing to get a reward. That's very important, because you need to understand the motivation that's behind an action. So a typical task is completed, they share to the client or to all the other teammates, right, the client, and you have to understand what a trigger is, and then of course an action, and why people do what they do, right? So that feature, that tiny little feature, became part of the client's workflow, right? That little tiny watermark, right, powered by that tool. But what I noticed was that just the introduction of that little feature, that share feature, right, that tiny watermark, it made it increased 30% of those shared reports saw the client tool in action, and there was absolutely no need for cold email. Brings me to this thought about referrals. Most companies offer cash rewards, right? But in B2B, it's really the decision makers do not care about this $50. What they care about is solving company-wide problems, right? Not pocketing $50 or let's say $5 for the referring, or even $100, whatever the case is. So instead, refer a friend to share and incentivize users to invite other teams, right? So you are saying, when you refer a friend, that friend gets to test out the product, and what do you get in return? You get a prolonged time to experience this product, right? If you invite legal or HR departments to try out the tool, both teams, you get extended trials. Now, this wasn't about driving individuals, please do not get it wrong, right? It's about giving teams more time to experience that product, because once they experience the product, they understand the product, they get to understand how to use it more, and the more time they spend on it, the more they understand it, and the more they want to share with their colleagues or their teammates or even their client if it solves their problem. What happened? We noticed activation jumped about 200% within 6 months, and it was quite interesting now, because customers are your best ads. Very important. Now this SaaS company that I told you I worked with, right, it's building project management tool or software. Now they didn't use any, it wasn't about testimonials, right? They tagged users in LinkedIn posts, right? So they created targeted content that helps, to push out these messages on LinkedIn posts, right? And the targeted message like, congrats, you saved 100 hours this quarter. No ask, no pitch, just recognition. The 3% of users will share this post on LinkedIn. Why? Because it makes them look like heroes, more effective, to their network. They ruthlessly focus on what works. Because in growth, especially if you are B2B, the channels are somewhat limited, right? And you're always battling with constraints of resources. Which channel should you prioritize? Which channel should you spend more money on? Which channel should you focus on, right? So, like I always tell people, focus on the data. What is the data telling you? You find out that this particular channel is what is the attribution you're getting from this channel is what is driving more of your revenue or more of your activation. So you have to double down on that, right? So for this project I work with, right, what we find out was that 70% of the growth we're getting was coming from that report tool. Now, sustainable B2B growth isn't just about chasing trends. It's really not about chasing trends, because the channel that works for you might not work for another company, right? Remember, it's B2B, it's not B2C, right? So you have to build systems where your product naturally encourages sharing. Remember what I mentioned earlier, it's about turning your customers into your sales team. Now, when you find out why would they share, and you bake that into their daily workflow, all you just have to do is to step back and watch your customer grow your business for you. So this is how I like to, this success story is one other way I encourage businesses to reflect, check out what works, double down on that. Remember, your channels are not the typical ones you have in the B2C. And when you understand the data, when you check the data and you find out that, okay, this is what is working, the attribution coming from this is actually what is driving a substantial part of your revenue, you want to double down on that, because it's an iterative process, right? And then you focus on that, and you are just on your way of generating more revenue for your business.